So thanks, everybody. Hello and good afternoon to everyone, and thank you to Elizabeth for the kind invitation, and to Carlos for the kind introduction, and congratulations to CanSIA on a sold-out conference. It's really wonderful to see. For me, it's really great to see so many familiar faces in the audience, but it's also great to see some faces that aren't so familiar, because I think we've really got lots of great information that we can exchange here today, but I think today is also a really good opportunity for us all to celebrate just how far the solar industry has come in this country, but particularly in Ontario. Walking around the trade floor upstairs and looking at all of the state-of-the-art technology that's up there, you really do have to remind yourself that the quest to harness the power of the sun really does trace back centuries. Back to ancient Greece, where warriors were reflecting sunlight with their shields to fend off invading forces. Back to the 1800s, with the invention of the first solar-powered steam engine. And those are really only two small examples. The quest to harness electricity from the greatest source of power in our solar system has been made in a number of steps. But over the past decade or so, we've really made a number of great leaps. On solar farms, we can see acres and acres of panels, in some cases visible just about as far as the eye can see. Land where the crop that's now being harvested is green energy. In my previous job, Deputy of Finance, when things were particularly stressful, which was a good chunk of the time, I'd say to people, take it outside, let's go get some vitamin D. And we go outside for a little fresh air and some sunshine. Little did I know at that point just how much interest that I would have in the sun in my next job, in an entirely different way, of course. A thriving solar industry really is taking root here in Ontario, and it's across Ontario. We need to look no further than places like Arnprior and Stone Mills outside of Napanee just to see how far we've come. In Napanee, for example, Canada's largest solar farm will produce enough energy each year to produce a small town. And there's a lot more of that in the pipeline. Soon we're going to see the opening of another large solar farm in Sarnia, and we've got hundreds of more projects in the works all over the place. Roughly the equivalent to covering the entire downtown core of Toronto with solar panels. In fact, Ontario is now a North American leader. Ontario has the most solar PV capacity online of any Canadian jurisdiction, and it's in the top jurisdictions in Canada and the United States. And if projects continue to come online as expected, according to the most recent full-year data, we're soon going to be in third place, behind only California and New Jersey. So clearly technology has helped propel us into this new energy age, but that's really only part of the story. None of this could have happened without a dramatic shift in both our social and our energy policies. There have been changes in legislation, but just as importantly, there have been changes in our thinking about how to generate energy while providing a legacy for generations to come. We truly are at a watershed moment, a time to clean up our air, to produce energy in the least polluting ways, to erect the foundation for Ontario's future prosperity. And we really do believe that the solar industry has a critical role to play in Ontario's future. If there's one thing I'd like you to take away from being here today, it's that the Ontario Power Authority is very committed to working with you every step of the way. We're committed to working with you to build a world-class solar industry. We want to set the benchmark for other nations around the world. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about where we've been and about where we're going. And I'd like to give you an update on projects that got their start under our previous program, our standard offered program that was called RESOP. I'd also like to talk in a little more detail about what many of you are very anxious to hear about, how things are going on the feed-in tariff program. Our feed-in tariff program is the most comprehensive feed-in tariff in North America, and it's getting a lot of attention, and deservedly so. But first, I'd like to give you a snapshot of how we got to be at the cutting edge of green energy. And I want to tell you the Ontario story because Ontario has a really, really good story to tell. As many of you already know, the Ontario government passed a groundbreaking piece of legislation in May. And here, kudos really go to Premier McGuinty and George Smitherman for a very visionary piece of legislation. The Green Energy Act positions Ontario as a global leader in conservation and renewable energy. And the Act is expected to encourage billions of dollars in investment in Ontario's electricity sector. It's also expected to create 50,000 jobs directly and indirectly in communities across the province in the next few years. Ontario is uniquely positioned. It's Canada's richest market with a population of 13 million people, and we have the country's highest personal incomes here. Our business community is export-focused with easy access to NAFTA and other world markets. And in fact, there are more than 135 million consumers within a day's drive of southern Ontario. In other words, Ontario is now open for business, and that business is green and clean business. So if you haven't set up shop in Ontario, I really encourage you to think seriously about it. But economic prosperity is only one of the goals of the new legislation. The province also wants a cleaner environment. We all do. Conservation and energy efficiency are a key element to reducing our carbon footprint. And when you combine what we're doing on our supply mix with the plans that we have on conservation and energy efficiency, it really does put us well on our way to reducing the electricity sector's carbon footprint in this province by 75%. Conservation is always first on the list for us. After all, the cheapest megawatt of electricity is the one that you don't have to use in the first place, and we're working hard to foster a culture of conservation in Ontario. We're well on our way already to meeting our target of reducing peak demand by 6,300 megawatts by 2025. To put that in perspective for those of you who may be from out of the province, that's the equivalent of removing 1 in 5 users off of our grid altogether over that period. And we're well on our way. We're a quarter of the way already. We've got energy savings in the bank, and we're actually looking to accelerate that target.